Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Kent. My name is Andrew Rome, a lay member of this congregation, and I'll be leading worship today with Kevin Breeden, our worship associate, and the many people who make church happen, our tech team, our ushers, music director, Katie Grigg-Miller. Thank you for turning off that echo. And many others. Thank you for making church happen together. See, we can't do it without Julie.
Let's try that.
Reverend Stephen, our minister, will be back in the pulpit next week. Our congregation has a long history of lay-led services as we recognize the diverse beliefs and practices of our members. We seek to learn from each other, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to share my thoughts with you today. Thank you for being here with us, either online or in person. We seek to be diverse and inclusive as we inspire love, work for justice, and grow together in community. So as we begin our Earth Day service, we begin with a territorial acknowledgement from UU Minister Sean Neil Barron. We gather together as a community of seekers to honor the interdependence of life, to respect the dignity of all, and to honor the land we walk humbly upon. Friends, let us acknowledge that in Kent, we walk upon the traditional territories of the Erie and the Kaskaskia, the original nations of this land, who continue to cry out for justice and self-determination. We are blessed with a space and opportunity to strive to live out our common principles, to bring justice, equity, and compassion into our daily lives, to resist all that threatens the earth and her people, and to live out our dream of a world community of peace, liberty, and justice for all. Let these be our thoughts as we let these thoughts carry us forth as we journey together and worship. Blessed be.
educator, currently teaching in Cattle Valley National Park and Environmental Education Center. I have many years of professional experience teaching children of all ages, backgrounds, and abilities about our climate crisis, engaging in discussions about human impact on our environment, and tackling difficult topics like the Dakota Access Pipeline. I have asked many 10-year-olds, what would you do if someone were poisoning your water? Who do you go to when you can't go to the police? As you can imagine, I sometimes get pushback from well-meaning adults who argue that these topics are not age appropriate. But as is often the case when topics are accused of being age inappropriate, we can point to the children of the same age and younger who are currently being harmed, in this case by environmental racism. In our national parks, we do encounter pushback on climate crisis education and interpretation. And for many years, professionals in the field of education and interpretation have yielded to talking about it less or not at all. However, the reality is that more and more park visitors are saying the opposite. They want to learn about the climate crisis, and they want to learn how we can make a difference. And there are ways we can engage in these discussions in a meaningful and accessible way. But most importantly, I urge everyone here to remember that our feelings of deep anger, grief, and sadness matter, and that we do need to honor those feelings, and to do so openly to find healing. Children are no exception. So come, let us worship, and let us feel all of our feelings, our hope and our despair. And in doing so, put our minds together to leaving the planet we want to leave to the next 7 generations. Will you please join me in reading the words to light our chalice in your order of service or on the screen in front of you? Our chalice lighting is Like the First Hint of Green by Jennifer McLaughlin. As the first hint of green begins to peek through barren ground, as that little sprig grows into a healthy stem, as that stem grows into a stalk and forms a bud, as that bud slowly opens with each new day to form a yellow daffodil, let us be like that first hint of green, renewed by the warmth of the sun's rays, and ready to emerge with a new energy, ready to face the new day. We light this chalice to bring a glimmer of that warmth into our space. I'd like to invite our young folk and our young at heart, come on up, you know you want to. Oh. Yeah, thank you for lighting our chalice. Got some people behind us coming up. I'm gonna maybe aim a little, all right. So this is We Are Water Protectors, and I wanna say, full disclosure, I'm not Native American, but I have many friends and loved ones. So if you have someone in your life who's Native American, or you yourself are Native American, will you please give a show of hands? Anyone? All right, awesome. Our authors and our illustrators today are Native American. Carol Lindstrom is Anishinaabe and Metis and is tribally enrolled with the Turtle Mountain Band of Ojibwe. Kayla Goad is of Tlingit descent and is tribally enrolled with the Central Council of the Tlingit and Haida Indian Tribes of Alaska. And you know it's a good book because it's got that gold sticker on with the guy riding the horse, yeah. To Dan and Sam and to water protectors everywhere, and for Mother Earth and all who defend her. Water is the first medicine, Nokomis told me. Nokomis means grandmother. We come from water. It nourished us inside our mother's body as it nourishes us here on Mother Earth. Water is sacred, she said. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. The river's rhythm runs through my veins, runs through my people's veins. My people talk of a black snake that will destroy the land. Spoil the water, poison plants and animals, wreck everything in its path. When my people first spoke of the black snake, they foretold that it wouldn't come for many, many years. Now the black snake is here. Its venom burns the land, courses through the water, making it unfit to drink. Take courage. I must keep the black snake away from my village's water. I must rally my people together. To stand for the water, to stand for the land, to stand as one against the black snake. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. It will not be easy. We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves, the winged ones, the crawling ones. The four-legged, the two-legged, the plants, trees, rivers, and lakes. The earth. We are all related. Tears like waterfalls stream down, tracks down my face, tracks down my people's faces. Water has its own spirit, Nokomis told me. Water is alive. Water remembers our ancestors who came before us, she said. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. We are stewards of the earth. Our spirits have not been broken. We are water protectors. We stand. The black snake is in the fight of its life. This is where our story ends, but I want us to take a moment to look at all the water protectors. They're wearing hoodies and hats and headdresses. Some of them are wearing feathers. Some of them are holding feathers. There's some people who are dancing. There's some people who are drumming. There's people who are singing. They're marching. They're raising their fists. Some of them have small children on their shoulders. There's some old grandmothers in there too. So we got all the people together. We've got, this sign says, stand with Standing Rock, protect the sacred, all nations, hashtag no DAPL, Dakota Access Pipeline, Mini Wachoni, and water is life. Mini Wachoni is Lakota for water is life. So I know it says, we stand, but we're going to sit, and then we're going to sing, and then we'll go to our songs. So we're going to sit for a little bit longer. All right.
We take time as part of our service to care for the people in our community. Those of us those of you who turned in yellow caring cards, I will read those as part of the service, and also the comments that have been typed into the chat box online. And I first want to share a joy, a milestone from Wendy Mann, and from our whole community, celebrating Hallapalooza on Friday night, which was such a wonderful celebration of the 25 years of service from our beloved previous music director, Hal Walker. Hal also shares a thank you with our congregation for the most amazing retirement celebration that a guy could ever wish for. Thank you to Hal and to everyone in our community. Also, much gratitude from the UUCK choir. Our thanks for our current music director, Katie Grigg-Miller, for leading us over the past year. It's been wonderful sharing music with you. Thank you, Katie. And I don't see any comments in the chat just yet. But I'd also like to acknowledge that while we're filled with joy together, we have many of us also experiencing sorrows and hardships. Vivian Sandland would like us to keep Bonnie Graham Esparza in our thoughts as she is recovering from surgery. Todd Packer would like our congregation's hope for healing for his colleague John and John's family, especially for his father and grandchild Lorenzo. Randy Bish asks us to please continue to remember and lift up Becky Klein and her mother as her mother transitions in hospice. Ginny Horvath also asks us to hold up Becky Klein who is caring for her mother in hospice. And David Weaver, who helped plan the service and contributed to its development, but was not able to be here today. David Weaver asks us to remember his mother, Rachel Weaver, who has invited hospice to join the family on her final journey. For all the concerns that have been mentioned today and the joys we share together, we hold each other and know that we're stronger together, we support each other, and we participate in each other's joy. Thank you for sharing. Now I'd like to invite some of the children and youth in our congregation to join me. And thank you to Amanda for working the microphone. The United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change brings together experts from around the world to analyze the current state of science on climate change. Their most recent 2023 synthesis report explains what is happening now, what we can expect to happen in the coming years, and different possible scenarios for the future, and our opportunities to change the trajectory we're currently on. I am not a scientist, and I found this report very difficult to read. So I also relied on Bill McGuire's 2022 book, Hothouse Earth, which attempts to summarize the same subject for the layperson. Using these resources, I wanted to understand what our current climate change path will mean for the young people in our church. I've invited their help to present elements of these scientific reports in simple terms.
My name is Lola, and I am 12 years old. When I am 20 years old, deadly heat waves will be more frequent during the summers, making it unsafe to work or play outside in many parts of the world.
My name is Raylyn, and I am 13 years old. When I am 30 years old, extreme droughts will make bigger wildfires happen more often, destroying forests and nearby communities.
My name is Justin, and I am 12 years old. When I am 40 years old, extreme storms will increase flooding and destroying homes and farms. 1.2 billion people will be displaced by climate change effects.
My name is Iona, and I am 12 years old. When I am 50 years old, healthy food will be less available than it is today. Climate change-related hunger and disease will affect tens to hundreds of millions of people.
I am Coleman, and I am 15 years old. When I am 60 years old, mass extinctions on land and water lead to overwhelming loss of plants and animals.
My name is Blaze, and I am 11 years old. When I am 70 years old, global sea level will reach 1 meter, and climate change will make 2 billion people, about 25% of the Earth's global population, move to new homes.
Thank you. This possible future can be troubling to consider, but it is the path we are currently on. However, this is not the only path possible, and we can start building the foundation for a different future by finding hope now. All right, who remembers watching The Never-Ending Story? It's a classic 1984 children's movie. I'll tell you my favorite part. We watched it with our kids, whom I love dearly. And it was such a joy for me to watch them watching it, to see them experience the death of a beloved character in a literal swamp of sadness. It was a peak parenting moment, though my kids may see it differently. I'm not trying to be unkind to them, but I truly believe in the power of art to help us experience emotions in a safe way. We know repressing emotions or running from them only layers on another problem. It's better to feel your feelings. So when there isn't an opportunity in a movie or book to have some big feelings, I lean into it. And I do this because we can learn from our feelings, and because it takes practice and courage to confront the real tragedies in our world. Thank you to the youth of our congregation for their willingness to take part in the service today and help me present a possible future. That took courage. Considering the possible futures of our planet is scary, and it's natural to protect ourselves from that fear by avoiding thinking about climate change. But I have faith in our ability to reckon with reality, faith in our young people, and faith in our community. It is important to see the scope and effects of decisions being made now that will continue beyond our own lives. The Haudenosaunee people lived in this area before Europeans came, and the Haudenosaunee Confederacy continues today. A principle of the Haudenosaunee people is to consider the effects of their actions unto the next 7 generations. From their website, in their decision-making, chiefs consider how present-day decisions will impact their descendants. Nations are taught to respect the world in which they live as they are borrowing it from future generations. This 7th generation value is a challenge to us, but also a comfort. as we consider that we are being supported by the 7 generations of ancestors who came before us. We are challenged to consider the choices we make now in light of the next 100 years of changing climate and the lives of the next generations. Our challenge as individuals and as a religious community is to find hope on the global scale and on this long time frame, which I believe offers an answer. We can't look forward to the next 100 years of challenges without looking back 100 years for the supports, the successes, the wisdom, and the experience that makes us the people right now who are ready to address climate change challenges that our world faces. If we look to the global effects of our choices, we must draw on the global history of relationships with the natural world. We do not have to look far for examples. My childhood environmental panic in the 80s included the hole in the ozone layer caused by CFCs, which are a chemical component of aerosol sprays. I imagined a hole in a balloon that let our atmosphere escape into space. This was a global threat, and we fixed it. Due to international treaties banning the use of chemicals that depleted the ozone layer, the natural processes that replenish ozone in the atmosphere will return the hole to pre-1980 levels by about 2040. The first environmental book that my mother gave me was Silent Spring by Rachel Carson, published in 1962, which detailed the use of the effect of agricultural pesticides like DDT on animal populations and on our food supply. With the collapse of ecosystems, insects, fish, songbirds, and predators up the food chain, the book's title came from the idea that continued use of DDT would silence the sounds of spring with no animals left. Chemical companies, including Monsanto, questioned and mocked Carson's integrity, her science, her sanity. They claimed that she wanted to return to the Dark Ages where diseases and vermin would once again inherit the earth. Public awareness and political support that came from Carson's work is credited with starting an environmental movement, and DDT was banned in 1972. The decline and now recovery of America's bald eagle, which I have seen flying around Kent again, makes the bald eagle a symbol of the power of environmental movements to make real change. Looking back further, John Muir, a founder of American conservationism, wrote in an essay in 1901 titled "The Destruction of the Redwoods." Muir wrote, "Under the Timber and Stone Act of 1878, which might as well have been called the Dust and Ashes Act, any citizen of the United States could take up to 160 acres of timberland by paying $2.50 an acre. Under this act, wealthy corporations have fraudulently obtained title to from 10,000 to 20,000 acres or more. By such methods, our magnificent redwoods and much of the sugar pine forests of the Sierra Nevada have been absorbed by foreign and resident capitalists. This priceless land has been patented, and nothing can be done now about this crazy bargain." Sounds familiar, right? More than 100 years ago, environmental activists were standing up to wealthy corporations who were exploiting natural resources for private gain at the expense of the public good. But Muir was wrong to think nothing can be done. Thanks to his efforts, Yosemite Valley was declared a national park, and the Sierra Club that he helped found continues to conserve our natural world more than 100 years later. Our Unitarian Universalist sources include both spiritual and secular teachings on the environment. My own background in Catholicism informs my thinking and makes me comfortable with a Christian framing of our relationship to the earth. Today's music selections include words attributed to St. Francis of Assisi, praising all creatures of the earth and sky, and a Garden of Eden song that echoes the Judeo-Christian creation story. I've seen how our capitalist culture has promoted the idea of dominion over the earth as a Christian teaching, but another understanding is focused on stewardship and our duty to care for the earth. The current Roman Catholic leader, Pope Francis, took his name in recognition of St. Francis and published the book Laudato Si on care for our common home, critiquing consumerism and calling for action on global warming. I think learning how different religions view our relationship with the earth can bring us together, rather than dividing us on dogma. Jewish environmentalism considers Earth's stewardship interacting with social principles, with concepts like tikkun olam, or repairing the world, applied to environmental justice. Negative environmental effects like polluted air and water, loss of access to healthy food, rising sea levels, and extreme heat waves affect people who never saw the benefits of capitalist resource extraction. A Jewish justice perspective calls us to care for each other as we care for the earth. Islamic teachings on the environment come partially from the concept in the Quran of mizan, or balance. The divinely created world was made in perfect balance, which humans must maintain through actions that encourage public good, avoid wrong action, and act in moderation. Pagan theologies may teach the earth as our mother, the source of life, rather than one of the creations of a separate God. Connecting with the divine in the natural world is more important than ever, as a counter to our dominant culture's view of the earth as a thing to be used. These are just a few of the many perspectives on the earth. Religious teachings about our relationship with the environment can bring us together, as the earth is literally our common ground. From the perspective of Native Americans, the first peoples of this land, we are already living in the time after the apocalypse. They lived in sustainable societies as measured by thousands of years of history, which left their natural environment improved, not degraded. They continue to live today as the people of the corn in present-day Mexico, the people of the salmon in the Pacific Northwest, and the people of the buffalo in the plains. They define themselves in relation to the environment that sustained them. Who do we ask? Do we ask ourselves, who are we the people of? Do I leave my environment improved or degraded? Trying to understand Native culture is a personal story for me. My lived experience is that of a white man, like my father. But I know my mother's grandfather was born Muskogee Creek Indian in Oklahoma. And my grandfather told me he had tried living white, but was just an old Indian now. And I can't claim anything but the white identity I've lived, and wonder what I've lost. I think now of those ancestors offering me a pathway to explore an alternative to our current destructive way of living. My European ancestors as well, or whoever you identify with, can offer us different ideas than we see in our current modern world, depending on which stories we hold up to celebrate. Who in your family, in your history, can you learn from? In my understanding, indigenous culture stands in contrast to colonial exploitation, which brought the model of capitalism extracting resources for profit. Capitalism, which promises endless economic growth no matter the external cost, continues today as the root cause of our environmental destruction. And in the 500 years that indigenous people have been fighting for this land, we can learn something about hope and resilience. We can learn about the duty of a people to honor the wisdom of their ancestors, to teach their children, because they know that the value of their work, their culture, their hope will extend beyond the range of their vision. Despite not being able to see the end, the people will continue. As Unitarian Universalists, we are the right people at the right time to take action on climate change. Unitarian Universalists seek to learn from diverse religious traditions. With our many faith backgrounds and beliefs, we are unique in drawing together the wisdom that connects us to our common earth. We can appreciate the creation teachings of our Judeo-Christian forebearers and the continued traditions of earth-centered religions. Both call us to care for the interconnected web of all existence, our seventh UU principle. As Unitarian Universalists, we see the value of science, such an incredible tool to help us understand our world. We have the courage to see what science tells us about the future and the environmental consequences of the choices we make now. Because we have the courage, because the love we have for our children and for each other makes us strong. As Unitarian Universalists, we follow a secular history of social justice activism. We are ready to question the assumptions of our dominant culture, that we can consume and pollute without consequence. We are ready to challenge the ways that some people benefit and others pay the price. We are ready to innovate new ways and reclaim old ways of doing things because we see that change can be positive. For those of us ready to take the next steps to address climate change, we can see opportunities all around us. I suggest participating in the webinar offered by the Unitarian Universalist Association Side with Love campaign at 4 p.m. today, entitled Facing the Apocalypse with a Smile. Bill Weiland, one of our church's environmental activists, has helped the city of Kent create a climate action plan being used now to make changes at the local level. Swani Vanaida, another environmental activist in our church, organized an excellent speaker this past Wednesday to educate our community on the dangers of fracking. The speaker, TED Talk, advised us to ask our elected officials to change regulation that makes Ohio a dumping ground for fracking waste and squanders our precious water resources. We can make changes in our own lives, like reducing thoughtless consumption, buying renewable energy through energychoice.ohio.gov, or eating less meat, and we can talk to others about what we do, and we can together change our institutions and change our world. We know that the arc of our world depends on us, on the choices we make. We are called to act for environmental justice, and we must recognize our place in a long chain of ancestors and our children who fight for a better future, supported by those who came before us and strengthened by those after us. We can find hope. We can care for our earth and care for each other. We are a strong and thriving church community because of the gifts of money, time, and care that each of you so generously give. Thank you. To help others in our community thrive, we also give to agencies, organizations, and projects in Kent and beyond that serve those in need. April's special offering is in support of a project started by our own youth group. Monthly free community meals to feed people who come to our church for food and for welcome. Please consider giving to cover the cost of food and consider attending the meal on the first Saturday of next month. In the spirit of gratitude for each other, first Sunday of every month, community meals, thank you. In the spirit of gratitude for each other, for this community, and for all the gifts of our earth, we now receive the offering.
Open your heart to the sound of the planet, her seas and her granite, these green fields of home. Hush, you can hear she is trying to speak. You will hear she is crying. So please open your hand to the work of reclaiming the task we are naming, the power we hold. Now is the time to be learning. Yes, now is the time to be working. So please open your heart to the sound of the planet, her seas and her granite, these green fields of home. Hush, you can hear she is trying to speak. You will hear she is crying. So please open your hand to the work of reclaiming her air and her forests, the balance of life. Hush, better stop our denying. We've lost something beautiful's dying. So please open your ears to the song of the planet, her seas and her granite, these green fields of home. Hush, it's to us she is trying to speak. Will we hear she is crying? This place we call home. We call home.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. May we carry these in our hearts and minds until we are together again. I have two announcements. First, consider staying after the service for our annual informational meeting and for our annual voting meeting on May 28th. And now, an announcement from our auction committee with Tex.
That's Tex Critter, ma'am. Wanna see the Big Lebowski? make 'em, then eat 'em, they're the best. Pick your flowers from Dana's garden. You arrange them, then munch brunch. Don't be a loser, get your tubers. Her dahlias will make your house a home. Watching fireflies at sunset, just like you used to do. Light up trees like Christmas Eve now, in silence with your friends and tea. Take a pontoon boat tour out on Wild Muzzy Lake. A 3-hour tour. A 3-hour tour. Sweet Home Uni Auction, where the offerings are colossal. Sweet Home Uni Auction, yes, we're coming home to you.
Thank you, Tex. A line of framed family photos, all on a surface, some out of focus. For those who came before us, we offer gratitude and thanks. May their memories be a blessing. May we feel surrounded by their love. And as we go forth from this time and place, let us be inspired by their courage, their wisdom, and their dreams. Let us honor them by doing the work of living boldly, loving mightily, and creating heaven on earth. Amen, and blessed be.